How's everybody doing tonight? Y'all good? Yeah. Happy crowd? Good looking crowd tonight. It's always good.
Big fun. Okay, thanks.
This is actually broadcasting now?
Okay, it's 6 o'clock, so I will call this meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission to order on this Tuesday, May the 17th, I think it is. So, first item on the agenda is to adopt the agenda. What is the pleasure of the commission?
Move we adopt the agenda.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Any changes? All in favor? Okay. Adoption agenda. Okay, old business. You received copies of the minutes of our April meeting.
Mr. Chairman, this agenda refers to the minutes of 4/17, and in the package, what we have is actually minutes from 4/19. It says here, regular public hearing 4/19.
Correct?
So I would suggest that we correct that on the, okay?
Any other changes to be noted? Okay, I will entertain a approval of the minutes as corrected.
I will move that we approve the minutes as corrected to reflect April 19th.
Second.
Okay, any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you for picking that up, Tom. All right. We have a quorum, and the next item is our new business. So Ron, take it over.
Good afternoon, Chairman and Commissioners and members of the public. We have an application tonight for RA-01-22, which is a rezoning of two parcels on Old Stone Road from single-family agricultural AG zoning to planned unit development, which is a PUD. This application is of particular importance since this is our first planned unit development in the city in quite some time, probably well over 10 years now. As folks in the public may know, the city has kind of shied away from planned unit developments in recent times in favor of going with a base zoning categories and districts like your regular R1, R2, R3, et cetera. This applicant has decided to go with a PUD. We have had discussions with the applicant, pretty intensive ones at times on this, and trying to see how this PUD would fit in with the city's large and grand plans for that region of the city. And that would include, of course, the Fuqua development that was recently passed, in addition to existing sites such as the Tanner Hospital and other surrounding places of public interest. The applicant here is proposing to construct 91 age-restricted single-family detached homes, 52 age-restricted townhomes, and 302 multifamily multifamily homes on the site. They're proposing 3 amenities, which would be required, at least 3. And the developer is proposing to construct a leg of the Gold Nugget Trail, which will include pedestrian, bicycle, and golf cart paths, as well as a new roadway that would connect Old Stone Road to a stub on the southern end of the property that would be the responsibility at that point of the city to complete down to Anderson Road and cross the creek. Which of course can further be built out, of course, on Anderson Road and continue further. But we do have another roadway off-site that we're looking to connect the entirety of the area, which we've talked about a little bit in the past, Mirror Lake Connector. So staff is recommending approval with conditions for this. I guess the reasons for the approval here would be that the requested zoning would permit uses that are consistent with the surrounding area and would provide for further growth along the Punkintown Road corridor. However, of course, we do have questions as far as the ability to service the development with adequate utility usage and things of that nature. So that kind of goes on to our following points here of conditions that we're proposing. We're proposing for the receipt of a favorable sewer and water capacity letter from the city's utilities department guaranteeing availability of service to all of the lots within the proposed development within 60 days. This letter will be required to be on file with the city's community development department and will, of course, ensure that there is adequate flow and availability. The second condition is the applicant must address the Old Stone Road and Punkintown Road intersection in the form of a traffic study, and all recommendations of that study are to be implemented at the recommendation of the community development director and the city's engineer. And the third condition is the applicant's development master plan should be entered into the legal record in addition to any and all proposed elevations, site plans, concept plans, and other representations made before the city council. And that's, of course, just to, that follows up on one of our council members' comments at recent meetings in regards to these concept plans, and that we're seeing that a lot of them are being changed as they go towards realization. And we, of course, want to be able to stick to the concept plan that the public sees and that we have approved, essentially. So we are wanting to stick that condition in with all of our applications for rezoning as far as we can see. That we think that's the smartest choice for the city and to protect the city in the future. So, and it would be fully transferable to any future owners of the site or applicants or what have you, developers.
Ron, there was included revisions to the design standards. Is this unique to the Old Stone Road property?
It will be, yes. That it's unique to this PUD only.
Does this need separate approval?
No, because this is a PUD.
Okay. But this is unique to this particular development.
It will be, yes. They're proposing, very specific standards there. We have standards in our zoning ordinance, which is, of course, the entirety of that document that you see. And the applicant is requesting, as a part of a PUD and as a part of establishing standards for a PUD, what they're willing or able to do as a part of that ordinance, and they want that, of course, would follow this application all the way through. So there's, not to confuse you, but there are two of these sections. There's section 6.06, and then there's section 9.0.
Right.
Yeah, the architectural design standards. So that's what they're actually proposing. You did see in your packets also, let's see, there was a design book here titled Master Development Plan. So this is very similar to the Avamore development in the sense that for all PUDs, we do require a master development plan of some form or some sort of what we call a zoning book that would give all of the bulk regulations for each of these individual pods, the townhomes and multifamily, et cetera. So we would be able to continue to utilize this into the future and to get a better concept of what this is exactly supposed to look like and how it's supposed to function. Things of that nature. So PUDs are only as good as the bulk regulations that they consist of. So we've seen that numerous times here in the city, even with Mirror Lake. So,
Question, Ron, and maybe you can
Yes,
tell
sir.
me this. Has this already gone through like any environmental? The reason is I grew up. My mother still lives there. She's been there since '77. I grew up in this area. I know on the backside of this is a pretty good wetland swamp area. Has that already been looked at as far as environmental?
as far as I know, it has not been.
Okay.
Usually, during the rezoning process, they were only concentrated really on the zoning and the setbacks and the bulk regulations, essentially height and things of that nature. But there will be a review for any environmental related, relief or what have you that may be needed by the applicant.
Because as a kid, I played there. I remember there's a good bit of standing water towards the Punkintown end of it.
Sure.
The creek gets pretty wide and kind of swamps up a little bit. Just asking.
One of my concerns, as you mentioned, is the traffic on Punkintown Road, and this will pretty much dump out onto Punkintown, at least until that road is extended to Anderson. You say in your recommendation that it is contingent upon a traffic study, but that traffic study would only consider the current situation, would it not? I mean, the current traffic and,
No, well, it would take into account the proposed units that would be on the site. So
okay.
they would take current conditions and then some projected conditions on what they're expecting it to be like with these peak hour AM and PM routes, as we've probably seen on a couple different projects. So that is kind of pretty standard for a traffic study, to study what it's proposed in the future.
now the city is planning on some extensive changes to Punkintown. Would that be part of this study?
Well, if we have a route that, for these different, I believe the council has talked about several different routes recently for Punkintown and for the bypass. So it would have to be taken into account if we have a route that's already, I guess, essentially picked already. I'm not sure if we have one yet.
Not to my knowledge.
Yeah, I'm not sure either, but I do know that it's something that the city city manager is working on. So.
And there was discussions at one time about a traffic loop at Old Stone and Punkintown.
Yes, and that's also a part of
Right.
those discussions. Yeah, I believe at the March city council meeting, it was discussed for quite some time, the potential traffic circles, possibly more than one on Punkintown Road. So obviously there would be that's something, if we do have that already in the works and that's something that we already have a plan for, then it should probably be in the traffic study.
Again, it seems to me that has to be taken into consideration for this study, for this proposed traffic study.
Right, and I'm not sure, and again, I don't know if the city engineer has gone further than what I'm saying on this, but I would imagine the city would also have to do some form of a traffic study for the proposed conditions of Punkintown Road. So that maybe the applicant might be able to work together with us on that.
Do any of the other commissioners have any questions for Ron?
Well, not just this condition says must address Old Stone and Punkintown intersection. And all recommendations of that study are to be implemented at the recommendation of which means Bobby, right? Well, I would think this is going to be a significant impact in that area, that it needs to consider the feeder streets and the impact of the other development, Ron, and that council, I guess this will go back to city council for final approval when you get the traffic study?
I'm sorry, you're saying before?
When you get the traffic study, then before the developer's released to go ahead and move on, it goes back to council for final approval, or who approves that?
No, that would be the city engineer.
Be Bobby?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Any other questions that the commissioners have?
No, for Mr. Johnson.
Are the developers here?
Yes, sir, they are here. Brian?
Any questions that any of the commission has for the developer?
Yeah, I think I got a couple for him, if I can.
Could we have them
Why don't we-
come forward,
yeah.
please?
I'm sorry?
What do we get
Have
them?
the developers come forward?
Sure.
Your name, please, and
Kenneth Wood, 350 Research Court, Peachtree Corners, Georgia. We've got a presentation if we can be able to put it up.
I like that printer.
What's wrong with that?
You can almost just do page view, and then I could probably click through with the mouse. On the top is just page view.
Yeah, I marked that somewhere. Yeah, where we talked about it. There's two lots, they look vacant, but I don't guess they're vacant. Yeah, the little street that. That street's open. It should be, it's closed. It's growed over, nobody's used it. Got it. That's somebody else's.
I think we might could do it. You holding the mouse over here. Are you guys able to see the screens?
Yes, sir.
too?
We can turn 'em around.
You can as well.
well, I
Awesome.
can't, but,
So while they're working on it, we'll kind of go. We're gonna go
okay.
innovative here, for doing it. So Kenneth Wood, as I mentioned a little while ago, so excited for this project.
Is your mic on?
I believe it's on.
Okay, there you go, yeah, we just have to get.
I'm gonna get it up high enough. So excited for this project. One of the big key parts of this project, and the reason we selected the PUD for this, is looking at the city's future plans. The future plans. If you really take this area from Old Stone back over to where we're sitting, this is the downtown, the vision of the downtown from Fuqua over to Mirror Lake, back over to here, and then back to Old Stone. This encompasses where all the new roads are to be built and kind of the downtown area is to be constructed. And so in looking at the project, let's see if I can scroll down this. This kind of gives a little bit of an overview or an outline view so you guys can be able to see where it sits. I think everybody is familiar where the location is, and it comes about literally probably about 300 feet from Anderson Road, maybe just a little bit further where we touch just from the south. And then you can actually see in this area, this is where Fuqua was approved. So the properties don't actually touch the Fuqua property and this property, but they're very close to each other, kind of forming what you would see as kind of the pin corners for that kind of the square area that encapsulates the whole downtown area, which is in here. And so this is a little bit closer area. It shows Fuqua that is here and where our site touches, and then this is Anderson Road just below us here. The current zoning map for the city that we have, as well as we brought up the future land use map, and in looking at that, we created the idea of the future land use map by looking at it and what is the character areas. What did it kind of say to us as we were running through some of the different things, and how did it end up working? And so this one, I believe this one's a little older presentation than the one we have, right? It is. Okay. And so everything that we're proposing, the way the mixture of the units work, we're doing the senior units for really about 50% of the portion of the site, and then the other portion, we're really focusing on young professionals, empty nesters, not kids for the multifamily, and I'll describe how that works to you guys running through there. And so everything that we're proposing for the PUD fits within the future land use map, and that was kind of our, I guess you can kind of say, our guide for it. These are the three different projects that we have. We have essentially the one-level ranch. Those are our single-family detached units that we have today that you guys are looking at. In your packets, we've got kind of the latest rendering you can look at. I believe it's on page 3 or 4 that's not part of this one. And you can see where the single-family homes are at the bottom of the page. Those essentially are the lots that are there. They're 50-foot wide lots or 52-foot wide lots. that would be the single-family homes, and they are all one level. And so those are going to be geared toward seniors. Also, the townhomes, one of the products that we're excited about this one on is we've created a product that would actually work for essentially just a 2-story with the master on the main. And so it's also that senior product that we have and looking, for it in here. This is the site, essentially the survey. There's some early questions I noticed about some of the constraints on it. And so we've actually been working on the project so long now. It's almost been a year. We've run through the DRI on it, which is the Development of Regional Impact, the traffic study to really understand all the constraints that we have in the area, and that's where some of the conditions came from. And then we've also been able to run through a lot of the engineering. We identified where the floodplain was, and so our initial site plans that we actually had a different layout on it. And so once we determined where the environmental items were, there's a massive amount of beavers in the area that just keep damming stuff up, and they've been dealing that with a long time, and so it's created a lot of the expansive area. And so we took that all into account and actually shrunk our site plan on the latest edition that you guys are able to see there. It also took our open space up over 30%, which is also a positive for it, and actually ended up creating a lot of different uniqueness to the plan with the multifamily, and I'll show you that. This was the plan that we submitted. You have in your packet a plan that's a little bit different. You'll notice that in the packet that we've shifted the multifamily a little bit away from this area as an idea as we found more and more about the environmental side. But this is the multifamily here. 50% of these are 1 bedrooms. 50% of these are 2 bedrooms. There are 0 3-bedroom units, and that's done purposely. These are Class A market rate, so this is going to be as high end as you get of any multifamily in the city. Everything on the inside is going to be very well upgraded, and the multifamily will have an amenity, a resort-style pool. And what we've really tried to do is frame the corner, really trying to take Old Stone and the entire frontage and make this frontage very special. The units for the senior are here, framing this side of it. We have the new parkway. I don't know, Anderson Extension, I guess I'll call it for tonight, to be built all the way down to here. And then this is the section in order to tie it in that would be to here. This is the single family for seniors that I discussed, and then this is the seniors for the townhomes. Both have an amenity, so which we have, and a lot of the trails that we're doing show up along this parkway. The parkway, after talking more to the city, is actually, this was very recently, is actually going to be a divided parkway, and so it's a 10-foot multi-use trail, and then a 17-foot lanes that include a bike lane, and then a median that's 14, another 17, and then 5 on the other side. So the idea is to have on one side of it the 5-foot for pedestrians and walkability, and the 10-foot for bikes and golf carts to be able to get around. So the idea is for all the way from Old Stone, all the way to Mirror Lake, all the way to your downtown, is to finish these roads with those wide multi-use trails so that you can golf cart, or you can bike or walk, whichever one would be the difference between those two coming in and looking at those in there.
Now, will you be responsible for building that road, those roads?
What has been the latest discussion? Yeah. So this section, the only discussion that is being discussed with the city is the extra 300 feet here, but the parkway coming through would be constructed by us. From the traffic study, kind of staying on this, and I'll kind of turn it upright because this is the actual orientation from your maps. And so there's one of the conditions from the study, the way we do our traffic study, and we know we have to do the additional study at Pumpkin Town and Old Stone, but when we went through the DRI process, we had to study about 12 different intersections. And then the item that came up was at that intersection, we would have to take into account any growth that is on record. And so anything that the city, you guys can give us that GDOT knows about, whether it's expansion of Mirror Lake, what's happening with Fuqua, other developments in the area, the hospital, anything that's happening, we'd be able to capture that, as well as we have to put a growth rate on that. And so what we've committed to in those zoning stipulations is that we would update anything at that intersection that is needed. We know that something's going to be needed, but we don't know what. And then the way that would be done, I know I'd heard a comment just a little while ago when I was listening, was that if this was successful, during the LDP process, we'd be required to do that study, submit it to Bobby. It would be reviewed, and then the decision for what has to be done at that intersection would have to be approved and then agreed upon before the LDP. And then so that once you start construction, that is the condition that you have to do for that intersection, whether that's a turn lane roundabout, whatever the solution is. But we know that there's congestion there, and we have to be part of the solution for going there. This is the green space portion of it. Like I said, over the 30%. Looking through it, and you can, as you guys seen in your packet, we have extensive green space here. This is a lot of floodplain down here, and then it opens up to more usable. This area is usable. All these spaces through here are all kind of usable pocket parks that we have. And then we didn't highlight, but obviously we have all the usable green space that's along the road and the expansion of the road that we have. This is site connectivity. This shows the sidewalks throughout the entire development, and of course inside, but also along the parkway. And in the packet that you guys have in front of you, you can actually see the parkway. We were able to redraw it just for tonight, just so we'd be able to show you guys what we're looking at for doing it. Here are some ideas for the detached homes. You can got to give an idea for what some of the product may look like. All cementitious material, brick, stone, hardy, batten board, and that would occur here, and this would have its amenity here for the single family, as well as a large stormwater management ponds to making sure we're doing our job there for stormwater management. And we tried to put down forth essentially all the different types of homes here. And then we set out all the different standards. That was one thing about the PUD, and give staff a great deal of credit. They've read through the entire PUD and had a lot of different meetings, so we could literally get into how much on windows and very specifics to that ordinance, and we were able to do that, and they were amazing at being able to go through there and help us identify that. These are some interiors as well as exteriors of how the master on the main and some of the different items work for the townhomes. Everything is very upscale for this development, of the highest quality that would be put here, all for sale. We also talked about it definitely being for sale on the townhomes and the single family detached, and just have a lot of different standards that we set in here, as well as some of the different finishes. And we have finishes for the inside and finishes for the amenities that we've shown in our packet, as well as townhomes and single family. Yes.
What are the what are the price points for the? And I know what are the proposed price points for the single family and the attached?
The single family will be the high threes, and the townhomes will be the low threes.
The low threes townhomes, and the upper threes for the single family detached, which means tracing over 4 quickly. These are some of the different trails, the different sport courts. We're talking about the bocce ball, different type of outdoor activities, as well as forgetting the name, but pickleball
Old man
that we're
tennis.
doing for the courts, and then obviously a nice pool with essentially a cabana. You have your bathrooms and everything. The multifamily, like I said, it's Class A. Everything that we're looking at for here, purposely not doing the 3 bedrooms. Essentially, when we've looked at this and we try to take a catalog of the different projects and all the different municipalities that we've done, when it's the 1 and 2 bedrooms and all of the amenities are programmed for young adults and for empty nesters, we don't get many kids. Even though the schools do their estimates, traditionally we do not get many kids because there's not programming for it. There's no playgrounds. There's nothing like that. This for here is more fire pits and things for adults to be able to hang out with, as well as the resort style pools. You can see kind of the different ideas for the amenities here, both the clubhouse as well as what the pool can look like and how those amenities are. You'd have your gym, your coffee shop, everything within that amenity, and all the different finishes that you have. And then these are some additional pictures of the interior finishes, just to show that the multifamily finishes are as high of grade as all the for sale product that we have in here that we're looking at. And so with that, I can take any questions that you guys have. One of the reasons it fits so well is with all 3 of the different products in the PUD, our density is just right at 7 units per acre. And with some of the different changes that, we know with some of the, environmental areas, it'll probably be just under that.
Are there separate amenities for the 55
There are.
and older?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
There are.
And have you built similar developments as this elsewhere?
Yes, I could let Brian, the actual developer, come up. I'm on the design side, and let him talk about all the different communities he came from, John Whelan Homes, and he can be able to talk to all his experiences.
Any other questions that the commissioners have?
No, I guess from the design side, I guess, let me ask you this, and this may not be in your area, but has there ever been a consideration, because I really like what you've done here, and like I said, you may have heard me mention it before the meeting, I'll say it on the record. My mother lives just almost adjacent to this, and we've actually considered selling her home and moving her into a 55 and older community. Is there any chance you could do this and make a profit without the apartments? That's the question I ask financially, because you're building 2 to 1. You're building 300 apartments for 143 individually owned.
Right, for a
Can you
space.
economically, can you make it work where you don't do the apartments? And if not, then the question is why?
Sure.
Why? Because ultimately that apartment building's gonna be owned by somebody, sold to someone, resold to someone. That's the only hesitation. I think what you got's a fantastic product. I think your design, the time you put in is, and I think it's a needed product. I'm just not sure how many 55-year-old pluses who can afford a $400,000 single-family residential is going to live next door to an apartment complex. That's, and then what that happens is over time, the apartment complex begins to dominate the setting. The value of that $400,000 goes to 330, to 320, to 280. That's the issue that I see in the future. I just see that, because you're 2 to 1. You're
Sure.
not 2 to 1 the other way.
Sure.
You're 2 to 1 on apartments.
Sure. I can speak to it and then let Brian come up and,
Okay.
and speak to, like, can he do that? And so the only thing I can speak to is whether not naming all the different, cities, but all the places that we've done, mixed use, like this, and we're doing, when it's a $50 million multifamily community, we're not seeing that it hurts values over time because of
But are you doing
how
them in
high-end.
Gwinnett, you doing them in Perimeter, you're doing them in Alpharetta, you're doing in the demographics and I guess the economic demographics of the community are different.
Sure, but there are. I mean, I wouldn't say there any difference whether it's like Gwinnett. I mean, if you look at like a downtown Duluth, what it used to be and then what it is now, because they implemented the walkability and
Yeah.
everything like this, brought in the restaurants, and so I think, and everything that I've read at least is that, there's not much more land for multifamily in the city that makes sense in terms of, but if you have people close to this downtown and you can get, karting, walking, biking to this downtown area, I think the vibrancy of the restaurants and everything will really uptick a notch. And that's what really sold me as a planner when, listening to Tom and the staff talk about what they're trying to do really got my attention. But let me ask Brian to come up to talk about what he can and can't do.
Yeah, Brian Musoff, Inline Communities. Thank you very much. I think that's a really interesting and good question and observation. And what we've found, which I think sounds maybe a little bit counterintuitive, but when you think about it for a second, it really does make sense, is that the people who are in my life cycle and have young kids or have children at home and everything, they're very different from the people who are empty nesters, and they're also very different than the young professionals who maybe aren't married or don't have children yet. And it's really kind of the two ends of the barbell that really want the same thing. They've got the same amount of free time. They don't need a yard to go throw the baseball and throw the football and all that sort of stuff. They're not, teaching their kids to ride bikes. They're all out and enjoying life at that time. They're different ages, but they really want the same things. They can afford sometimes the same things, sometimes they can't, and that's why some of the young professionals choose, to live in, apartment complexes, Class A apartment complexes, but some of them just don't want to, cut the lawn, and that's, one thing Ken, kind of failed to mention about the senior side. I think it's real important to, so everyone understands this is 100% maintenance-free lifestyle for both the senior and the multifamily piece.
Is there
So.
is it going to be a property owner association or HOA?
Yeah, there'll be an HOA, and so no one will cut any of their lawns, whether you're in the single family or the townhome. The townhomes, all the exteriors, the roofs, the siding, the paint,
What has been your
everything will be
experience
done.
with townhomes and senior
So you got to do a master on main. If
Okay,
you don't do a
'cause-
master on main, then
Okay.
it does. I mean, it can. I've done a lot of them in town with
Yeah.
elevator served, but
Yeah.
that's a very different product, and that's a much more urban product for
'Cause I
something
just
like
think
this.
62-year-olds are probably not going to
Yeah.
want upstairs bedroom.
You got it.
Just
You
not
got
gonna want-
exactly. You got to have the master on main. But what we've found is, if you do a wider townhome product, you can still have a great floor plan with a master on main, and then what that you can see kind of from what showed up there. That second floor is not a full second floor. It's kind of the second floor is in the attic space, and it turns into a great either man cave or weekend home for the grandchildren or whatever, all that sort of stuff. So you can create some really nice spaces on that second floor, but still give the empty nesters everything they want on that main floor.
Well, I've been telling developers for as long as I've sat on this commission about multifamily dwellings. We're getting a lot of those, and as a matter of fact, I think we got something else coming up. I'm hesitant on them because I see what they have become in this city, and I know people can compare them to other places, but that we're not other places. We're here.
Right.
So what I have to do is look and see what we have and what it's turned into. And I actually lived in one of these apartment complexes 25 years ago. Lived a couple of them, and I see what they are now versus what they were then. But if you come to us with something, I think quality in addition to it, I'm willing to listen, because this is something I think is a good addition. I think the 55 and older market, the baby boomers, and now even their kids are getting to a point where they can afford it. And you're right, they don't want to cut grass, they don't want to, they don't want to cut the trees or paint the fence or whatever else. So, I mean, I think it's a good product. I just had to ask if there was a possibility, because I'm seeing, for instance, up at the Georgian, I'm seeing just north of here, I'm seeing, $400,000 single-family residence being built for a retirement age.
Yeah.
I'm seeing some remodeling down at Fairfield, just south of here, for a retirement age in condos. And I'm like, I like that. I just wish we had more of that. I wish, because what is this, 29 acres, give or take, 30?
Yeah, approximately 30.
Yeah, could we make money on it if we did it in 2-acre estate lots and built 10 big homes? Could you make the same amount of money? And I know that's what you're in the business to do.
Sure.
But that's the question I got is we seem to be attracting some of that around us, but not in the city.
Right.
That's
Yeah, and what I would, just frankly, I think that would be a wasted opportunity if someone were to do something like that so close to the downtown, and to just kind of echo what Ken just said. I think this is an opportunity to get.
I don't know. 10 families who could afford $800,000 houses in your community is not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing.
It's not bad. I don't think it'd be wasted.
It's
I mean,
not
you
a
got
bad
people-
thing, but I tried to pop my head into the restaurant 2 steps down here
Yeah.
before I came in here, and it wasn't open. And my thinking is, if you've got people with expendable income that can pay $2,000 a month to rent an apartment, or $400 and some $1,000 to be a senior here, they're going to be here spending money in the city, and I think it's going to be beneficial from a tax standpoint, for the city as well. And I do think it's going to have minimal impact on the school system, just because we are we do have 55 and up as half of the property, and 1 and 2 bedroom, multifamily on the rest. And I think it's, so I think it's going to have minimal impact on the schools, and I think it's going to have a major impact on, positively, on the city. So.
Are there
Thank you.
other commissioners that have questions?
Yeah, I have a
David?
question on your fee simple properties in here. Within that HOA, is there a plan to put a rental restriction or a cap, a percentage? Do you have a number in mind? that you
Yeah,
can share with us?
we're comfortable with whatever y'all want to put on there. 5 to 10% is typical, is what we typically do. If someone doesn't put it on us, that's what we typically do to ourselves.
Thank you.
Sure.
I do have a question.
Go ahead, Tom.
Brian, would you give us a little background on your company as a developer and builder?
Certainly, yeah. So I've been in the industry for 20 plus years. I worked for John Wieland Homes and Neighborhoods starting in about 2000 on the construction side, and then moved on to the land acquisition and development side. Ran land acquisition, reported directly to John for many years prior to the company getting ready to sell to Pulte. At that point, I started Inline Communities. That was about 6.5 years ago, almost 7 years ago. Inline Communities is a residential developer. I don't build any of the vertical homes, but I do all the horizontal development and develop lots, do a lot of work with Pulte. I did almost the exact same product with Pulte over in West Cobb, over near McEachern High School. About 1.5 years ago, they're finishing that the homes right now. It's called Wimberley, so that would be a good example of this. I know the exact product that they want to use on this, and that's, one of the people we're talking very closely to build the actual homes here.
So Macklin Road.
It's over on Old Lost Mountain Road, but very near Macklin Road. And TPA Residential is a sister company. So Brad Smith is 50% owner of Inline Communities. He's my partner. I'm his residential partner. He's one of the largest developers in the Southeast, does tons of industrial, office, and also has a multifamily company called TPA Residential. They'll most likely be the ones who would be building, and that was all their products, some stuff that they did up in city of Brazelton. So the pictures you saw up there is a project that they just built in the last year and a half in Brazelton, and that's what we've laid
What's the
out
name
here
of
as
the
well.
project in Brazelton?
It
WebGen
is
Road?
WebGen, but I don't know the name of what they.
Okay.
I'll
My sister
but we
lives
can-
there, that's what I'm asking.
Okay, and so, that's, so it's not incestuous, but we're the developer, we'll develop all the lots, but, I know who the builders will be on the vertical side, and, I've been doing this for a really long time, and we build our reputation on doing quality projects and doing what we say we're gonna do. As far as the traffic standpoint, we understand, as Ken said, that, we've done a full traffic study. The DRI has been, completed as well. Anything that comes out of that, DRI study or an additional traffic study for that intersection of Punkingtown and Old Stone, we're going to be willing to do, because that's, we want to make sure that we're having a positive impact, not a negative impact. I will tell you that, from the preliminary studies we've seen, that intersection is the most challenged. It's still not, it's not a level of service that doesn't work. It's a C, but almost every other intersection in the area is an A or a B, even during peak, rush hour
And I
times.
saw that you had 2 entrances, correct?
Correct, and we'll
Two
do full
ingress and
decel
regress.
and left-hand turn lanes into it as well.
But again, they all come out on Old Stone Road, which ends up
Right.
at Punkintown.
And I
Up
think,
down our Dallas Highway.
yeah, and I can't speak for the council or staff what, will ultimately happen, but I think, what's a huge opportunity for the city is to create this north-south, roadway to create, that intersection and to bring, to keep people so they don't have to go to Old Punkingtown to get around and to be able to get, or to Punkingtown to come straight through off Old Stone. And, with the proximity to the hospital and everything like that, I think it could make a lot of sense.
I think it does make a lot of sense as a project. Any other questions? If not, I'd like.
If I understand correctly, then, Inline is gonna do the, horizontal development,
I'll develop all the lots and then sell the lots. to the
Streets and
builders.
things of that
That's
nature.
right, sidewalks,
and
roads,
then the
parks.
vertical construction is handled by,
So Pulte Homes that we're talking to right now about doing the actual homes.
okay, so
selling
you
the
don't have
lots.
that nailed down yet?
No, they're very interested. We've got an agreement, but I'm not gonna, they're not here pitching the project. I am.
Okay.
And they've got to be willing to do everything that y'all say that needs to be
And
done.
if Pulte passes, you can arrange another,
Yeah, we work with, dozens of builders
Sure.
in the area.
and you've already got your financing arranged for?
Correct, that's
Okay.
correct.
Very
All right,
good.
that's all I have.
Very good. If there are any other questions, I'd like to open this to public hearing. Anybody that would like to speak for or against this project, come forward at this time. Give us your name and, yeah, come to the microphone, please. Give us your name, address.
Megan Hill, 54 Waterford Drive, Villarica. Question for you. I see that you're stating that this is a lot of adults, baby boomers that are going to be moving into here. How are these people going to be giving back to our community? Like, as a whole, they're not going to be working here, probably, because we don't have a lot of businesses that will be able to support giving you a $300,000 mortgage for your one-bedroom apartment. But how are they going to be able to give back beyond just paying to go to the restaurants next door? Are they going to be, like, I want somebody to give back to Villarica. I don't want the houses that are all coming here just to be people that are traveling to wherever they live at, wherever they work at, and then coming back here. We already have a lot of minimum wage businesses in this area, which means that the employees that we have at those businesses are not necessarily employees that live in this area or can purchase new houses in this area. You're talking about it being very expensive, everything being very good quality. Yes. How are they going to be giving back?
Well, we don't always respond to public comments, but Tom, you have a question or comment?
Yeah, these are going to be a little more expensive, a little more upscale units. The smaller stuff at about, upper twos, lower threes. And then the owner occupieds were going to be up around 380, 400, that sort of thing. Is that correct, price ranges? So the people who are renting these units will do just that. They'll be paying the rent to the apartment owner, who then has to pay taxes and upkeep, maintenance, and all that sort of thing, and they'll employ local people for a lot of that. But the ones who are buying the units and are going to live here, they're just like me in Mirror Lake. I bought my house, paid for it. We shop at Publix and go to the barber here and all of that sort of thing, and we pay taxes. And the people that are buying the owner-occupied units will do the same thing. They'll pay taxes and probably vote here too, and of course, I don't know, sometimes people aren't so interested in voting anymore, but they'll be citizens here of Villa Rica just like the rest of us.
Well, and I think a key too is how we control rentals,
Yeah.
the percentage of rentals in the units. Because the rentals will be, like you say, they're living here and
Not
Go
paying
on.
for the water that needs to be fixed in the city with all the water problems that we
Yeah.
have. So they won't be doing that. The rentals also won't be giving back to the school system because they won't have those taxes not being property owners. I do have more
Well,
questions, but
except
I'm gonna
that-
wait till after the Highway 78 one, and then we're gonna come back and talk.
Except that the apartment owners do pay the taxes that do those things. And I'm not, I agree with you. I don't want to see us become just a bedroom community.
It's what I feel like we are. I feel like what our businesses are right now
Mm-hmm.
does not match what our housing is. Because their prices are not that extreme, considering if you look on Zillow right now, that's what every other house in Villa Rica is going for.
Yeah.
The house directly behind me just sold for $229. But they could not work in Villa Rica and pay said mortgage.
Well, that's true, probably some of them.
go ahead. Dave. Yeah.
I would love it.
Yeah, sure. So, I'm not, I don't know that this is gonna be the answer. No, I don't know. I don't know if this is gonna be the answer you want or not, but, what I would say is that, there's kind of two parts to the answer. One is, there's, and I'm on this side of the business, but it's not my expertise. My expertise is housing. But what I know is working with industrial developers and office developers, one of the first things they look at when they decide where they're going to put new business development is housing. That's the first thing they're looking at. And right now, if you look at Villa Rica, you have a problem. There's right now 14 homes for sale in the entire city limits of Villa Rica. There's no housing. So, there's a shortage, a critical shortage of housing in the city. So I know that's not answering your exact question, but that's part of the answer is by creating these opportunities, you're going to create other, business opportunities would be the,
We haven't yet.
right. But you also have a critical shortage of housing. And I'm not saying it's going to happen overnight, but I am telling you that is, part of the answer. I lost my, the first thing I came up here to say, and now I just forgot what I was going to say. So the other thing I would say, regarding, what these people are going to bring to the community is, they may be serving on your planning commission. They may be going to church with you. They may be, sitting at the coffee shop with you. All those sorts of things. The fact that they are the multifamily, I think, is probably more important for the, the job component and for bringing new jobs. Having the multifamily and having people, opportunity for people to, if something relocates here, you don't have to wait for a new house to get built. That there's something people can move in immediately. That's nice and high quality. That's an important component to it. So that would be my answer.
I would just add, and after 20 years of living in Villarica, I haven't seen a lot of subdivisions that have came in that have brought that higher quality of business to Villarica city limits.
Thank you very much.
And I thank you.
We have about 5,000 units that are also in the works between now and 2023, 2025. So there'll be a lot more housing available. Yes, sir.
I'm Brian Howard. I live at 120 Francis Place, which is right behind Mr. Pilgrim's mother. Been there nearly 23 years. My property is directly behind the development. And I think by looking at it, I'm probably affected more than anyone. I think, if I can count right, I think there's at least 16 new homes in my backyard, which I'm not happy about. So I am against the rezoning. I just think it's too many units in one area with the other units you've talked about. The apartments going in on 61, Punkintown, Mirror Lake / Old Stone. I drive it 2 or 3 times a day. You guys can probably hear me cursing sometimes trying to pull on Mirror Lake Boulevard. Sometimes late in the day, traffic getting off I-20 going to Paulding County, you sit there and wait for 30 or 40 cars and trying to pull out. So it's a big concern for me. I'm not against growth. I just feel it's too many people in a confined area, I guess is my opinion. I have some of the same concerns Mr. Pilgrim had. I would much rather see individual homes, fewer of them. And I just think that would be a better thing. The apartments, I also agree with Mr. Pilgrim. He kind of followed my thought process, I guess. But I've taken time in the since I found out about this a few weeks ago, a month ago, whatever it's been. And some of our apartment complexes in Villarica that are 8-10 years old are getting run down. I'm afraid, I'm more concerned about the apartments than I am the home. But I don't like the fact that the homes are so packed together and so close to my property line. So, and I don't know exactly, I've heard different things about how close they want to build these homes to my property line. I've heard 10 feet, and I heard no, it's going to be 20 or 30 feet. I don't know, but either way, it's in my backyard, so a lot of them. So that's my concerns.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ron? Where's Ron? There he is. Any other comments or questions for the staff? Ron, you have any other comments to add?
Just add that this project is currently going through a development of regional impact. It is a DRI project because of the number of units. So that's all been sent down to our regional commission, and we are waiting for a response.
Ron, I have a question. Regarding I don't see any conditions on here regarding the rental. With the rental restrictions, would that be something that are put forth at a later time, or is that something that we can add to these conditions here?
You can add them here.
Okay.
Wonder if that would be more appropriate, though, for the developer.
I think if we put the condition on, they'll have to meet it or not. Have to
I heard
make an
5 to
estimate.
10%.
Yeah, I can live with a 10% number.
Well, I'll entertain a motion.
Yeah.
Correct. The fee simple.
The fee simple, yeah.
Well, I'll entertain a motion if you care to make one with those additions.
I move that we approve this request as discussed and forward it to City Council for approval.
Is there a second?
I just want to make sure that we add the rental restriction consideration as a condition on there, Commissioner Flowers.
Do you want to put a percentage on it?
I mean, we could have a discussion over that. I mean, the developers agreed with 5 to 10%. I like 5%. 10% is gonna be, you know, they're probably gonna put a waiting list out there and hardship, the different things, different ways you can get, qualify inside of that or exceptions, but
Tom, you want to add
what do you think?
a percentage? to your
I'll,
5%?
I'd rather have 5%, yeah, but,
Okay.
okay.
Okay, it's been moved that we approve the concept as presented with the addition of the conditions that staff has added, plus the addition of a limit of rental of 5%. Is there any discussion?
I will second that 5% if we haven't done it already.
Okay. All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Yeah, let 'em have it. Needs
Okay.
qualifications.
Unanimous. All right, Ron.
Next, we have application RA-02-22, which is a proposed rezoning of 116 Reed Road from single-family urban R2 to single-family attached SFA zone. This is also an application by Inline Communities. The applicant was previously approved in 2021, application RA-07-21 for the record, for rezoning from single-family agricultural, which is an AG zone, to R2 in order to construct 196 single-family homes on the site, along with several conditions as well. The applicant has now changed those plans to instead construct 181 townhome units on the site because of substantial rock and other topographic issues on the site that proved to be more extensive than what was previously thought. So this has prompted another application for rezoning. So they are looking to go to a single-family attached zone in order to do these townhomes. Staff is recommending approval with conditions. The reasonings for that is that the requested rezoning would provide further growth along the Highway 61 corridor. And again, the ability to service the development with adequate utility usage must be confirmed prior to construction. So I have a number of different conditions that have been outlined. All but one of them is a carryover from their first application, but staff has also staff has taken a look at some of these different conditions, and we've redlined a couple of them here. Let's see, it's a total of 1, 2, 3, 3.5 have been redlined for removal, for potential removal. Simply because this is a townhouse development and it's no longer a single-family development. So I kept the original conditions in there just so you see what they are, but we are not at this time looking to enforce numbers 5, 6, 9, and half of 15 there. We took a sentence out of 15 after discussions with the developer. As a part of this, of course, and not to go through all of these conditions, but the developer essentially would be, taking a look at the traffic study that they had prepared in August 23rd of 2021. That might need to be updated, of course, because of more current conditions and because of the change in this application. Let's see. The applicant must address the Reed Road, Tolbert Drive, and South Carroll Road intersections, again, in the form of traffic study or an upgraded one. The developer shall contribute no more than $1,500 per lot to the cost of traffic improvements. And
Why is that limit?
I'm sorry?
Why that limit?
It's based off of my discussions with Bobby and based off of the cost of some of these traffic improvements as expected. And based off of the yield that they're looking to build, we came down to that $1,500 per lot would be the cost to cover those improvements.
Okay.
And let's see if there's any others of note here. Again, the sewer and utilities letter must be submitted by within 60 days. I believe they did do that last year, I believe, yeah. So that we don't expect any changes in that. And of course, the number 16 here, the last one, is one that we actually ended up submitting afterwards. This is not a part of the original 2021, and that one is for the applicant, developer, and owner agrees to build all internal roadways and parking aisles to standards that would accommodate emergency access vehicles. This includes emergency access to the proposed park in the rear of the property, and that would include the east of the stream crossing. There would have to be some sort of a crossing there at that stream. So in order to get to the rear of the property where all that rock is. So the plan for this, the rear section of this, is to for the rear portion of the property to be donated to the city for a public park.
How much of that, Ron? How much acreage on that?
I'm not sure if you guys know. It's 35. Yeah, that's what I thought. 35 acres. So it's a lot of rock back there. There's a proposed walking trail and two parking areas for the public to use that facility in the rear, but the city would be the a designated owner of that portion of the property.
On the approvals, you say that the ability to service the utilities would be confirmed prior to construction. How will that be confirmed?
Yeah, so, well, are you talking about the first point here?
Yes.
Yeah, so the sewer and water letter is something that we would need within 60 days of the hearing, just for confirmation. Being that they already have one, that might just need to be updated at this point. But if we give letters out for sewer utility, it's taking into account all of our other forecasting that we already have. So once we actually issue a letter like that, we have to stand by it. So we have to do the checking up front instead of towards the end of the project. So once the project does get started, we can assure that they actually do have proper utility coverage.
Now, are you comfortable with, that's a pretty heavy residential area that surrounds it. Are you comfortable with the moving in of townhomes in that area?
Yeah, so the comprehensive plan does allow for the SFA zone to cover this portion of the city also. If it's a single-family development versus a townhome development, it's more than likely the same number of users of each, especially if the single-family houses was 196, and we're down to 181 townhomes now. I know in the first hearing last year, some folks were questioning some of the traffic impact, especially with South Carroll Road. We all know that intersection there, and there needs to be some improvements there. That's the point of the conditions, requiring these traffic studies and requiring some form of a contribution to some of the infrastructural changes that will be certainly needed there at some point. So the applicant has been very cooperative as far as what as far as all that the city has asked for so far, and with looking at these conditions and kind of going back and forth on them a couple times, and we really do feel confident and comfortable that this is probably the best plan at this point forward for that property, because of the massive amount of topographic issues in rock that we're not quite sure what can go there if it's not going to be something that's of a residential type of caliber. Not really sure what else could possibly fit in an area like that on a side street.
Any questions for staff?
We've seen two, what I thought were really attractive looking plats for that property in the past, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes, yes.
They were all single family detached,
They were. Mm-hmm.
and the site's just not conducive to the.
No, a good almost half of the site is.
And to your point, on that day when South Carroll and the interchange right there, I think that was 4 years ago. Is when we needed to do something about that,
Yeah.
because it is an absolute disaster now.
I
I'm there
agree,
every day.
every day.
No,
About
we bet.
about got hit from the side and the back on the way to the meeting tonight right there.
I pull out there and pull in every morning.
Just kind of do what you gotta do and hope for the best, right? Say your prayers.
Yeah.
But that's a very dangerous area, and putting another 188 units right there, how many people we think we're gonna have? What are these, 3 bedrooms? Townhomes?
I'll have to leave that to the developer.
I'll
we're
be
gonna
honest
have-
with you, Ron, I versus a townhome only developer, I'd just soon remain in kudzu field. If that's what we're getting out of it, I'd just soon remain a kudzu field. It's been the last 70 years. I know the hospital authority will probably sue us if we don't zone this because apparently they own it. So Tanner will probably sue us. But I just, single family, I think we're doing a disservice to the neighbors on each side by doing that. I don't like the park in the back. I understand it's rock on the ground. There's a lot of rock runs through here. The guy that owns the rock quarry. It's the same, strand of granite that Stone Mountain is. It's topographical maps will show you that. I don't think they purchased it yet. I think the Tanner owns it, so maybe when we just work a deal and buy all 75 acres from him and turn it into a park. I think that'd be a better use for the community.
And speaking to the park, where would access, what's your proposed access for the public to have access and use of the 35 acres? Where's that coming from?
Yeah, so actually on the site plan, I'm just going to reference it for a moment. But on Tolbert, you have the main entrance here coming in, and then immediately to the left is a parking lot with the walking trail just behind that would go out to a new sidewalk off-site. And that passive trail would go all the way back to the rear of the property. And you could see from if you look all the way to the, that would be the eastern side of that before the creek crossing there. There's an additional parking lot that connects to the trail as well. So what you're actually taking a look at would not indicate, it's not the same as what we have in the conditions, right? So with the conditions, we're looking for an actual stream crossing or some way for emergency vehicles to actually reach the rear. So it would more than likely extend a little bit more beyond that creek in order to accomplish that and fulfill that condition.
But then the city would be responsible for ensuring, maintaining, lighting, providing security, all that for this park.
That is correct.
And the only access is gonna be through the townhome development.
That is correct, yes.
Interesting. Any other comments to staff?
Well, I'm going right back to the rental restrictions on these townhomes. I guess that may be a question for the developer, if we can
Sure.
have him when
Yep.
Mr. Chairman's ready for that.
Yes, yes, please.
There's no restriction in here. Said there is a restriction in here. Item number 15,
15, yeah.
limits it to 10%.
Okay.
Would that still extend, even though it was originally single family, would that 10% still extend to the townhomes too?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, could we have the developers come forward?
Kenneth Wood, 350 Research Court, Peachtree Corners, Georgia. If there's a way to put it up here. Kenneth Wood. Yes, sir. Oh, it looks. I should be able to explain kind of all of this to you guys. And that works. If you guys have the booklet, you can actually see more of what we're committing to in terms of the quality, the products, the look and everything for it. And it has stuff if I scroll down too. Okay. So this is kind of everything you have in the packet is the newest that we would have up here, but I know we're not able to show that to you guys. And so what we're looking at is we originally had the 194, 196, and we're down to 181 on this plan. And so that's 13 that's been removed. I find it a really unique opportunity. We went out there, we started, going through all of the engineering and digging around and realized that, some of the rock was literally just a couple of feet under the ground. And what ended up happening is, as we were going through examining some of the different stuff, we literally carved trails back through there, and then the idea got created because it's 35 to around 37 acres, depending on how you draw the line in the creek, is something that large I had not ever seen where there was just this big donation. And so the talks became, well, what can we do? We want to have a for sale only, still have that 1,800 square feet for sale, with a big amenity. How could we do this? And so we started re-land planning this, pulling everything around the creek. We also hit some rock right in the middle, and so that created another big open space into the middle of the front side that we're able to connect into. We have big, large buffers on the top end from the single-family community. That's a mobile home park on the south side. Hopefully this would encourage the redevelopment of that at some time. Looking at from there, we have money going to the road improvements. Our traffic study showed we've got turn lanes, decel lanes coming into the development. A couple of things to point out for the park. We would extend the road across, essentially have those emergency vehicles coming across, and we have parking there. But if you also look right near the front when you pull in case somebody feels awkward about driving to the back for parking, right when you pull in on the left, that parking lot is for the park. And then there's that large trail that runs down and then along the creek all the way back to the park. And so you essentially can create, several miles of trails through here because of the acreage and how much it is. And so it all would remain wooded. It is wooded back through there, especially you get back toward the creek. It's really nice, and we didn't realize that until we started clearing everything out back there. And there are some future connections back to the east of this that we looked at on the map, but this was how you can solve it immediately day one, so that as the project is getting built, you have access to this park, access to the walking trails that would be put in there and installed as you go through there. The water and sewer, we worked on that. We already received that, and since we're decreasing units, we know all we need to do is get that updated, and it would be less impacts. It's very easy to access the sewer. It's just across the very north part of the site at that location. We have large stormwater management facilities for the site to be able to handle the water quality. If you look at the site as a whole, this would go into the category of the largest I've seen. It would be 75% open space in terms of the site as a whole. Now, once you donate it, that one side in particular would be about 38%, but as a whole, it's essentially about a 75% site that you're looking at in the way it sits there. The single family attached would have the rental restriction. We were okay with that. Whether that's 10%, that was what the staff had suggested, or we drop it to 5% to be consistent with the other one. We're okay either way on that. And then if you're looking at the layout when you enter and you turn to the right into that street, that large loop road essentially is like a large cul-de-sac that has parking all the way around that cul-de-sac, and then that would be a large amenity just for this development, and that would be installed there for the for sale homes. Price points here, we're also talking about in the low 300s for the attached homes, and so we see it as an opportunity to have honestly a project that is unique of any project like it in the city, or even I was born in Carrollton, and so any project in Carrollton too, because I can't think of a place where you can buy a home and have a 38-acre park next door that you could walk to and be able to have that immediately at your fingertips, and then the ability to have where other people can come in. So that's why we felt like the parking at the very front of the development was so crucial to this, because that gave a trail where you can pull in, park, and then immediately go. And that honestly came just from we were talking about how my sister accesses different parts of the Greenway in Carrollton, and she has a parking lot. If you keep going in, it goes into a subdivision, but there's a parking lot in the front, and that's kind of where that trail idea came from. And so with that, I could answer any questions you guys have. It is a reduction. It does, meet the land use map, and we've kept everything away from the sides to make sure we're very much buffered and keeping that open space. And all the roads are designed so that they do meet the fire conditions that you guys have seen.
But you would not be responsible for the development of a passive park? You won't be involved in that?
I'll let
So it's really set up to be a passive park right now. There's good, trails in there today, both from, I think people have been using it for four-wheelers and things like that previous, and then we had to cut, as Ken said, a bunch of trails in there to, clear a bunch more trails so that we could test rock throughout it. And I mean, this for me is a kind of a first time, not kind of a first time. We really screwed this thing up. I mean, just to be 100% honest, we brought y'all and y'all saw the plan. It's the one, you have right in here. We intended to do a single family neighborhood. I mean, that's what we intended to do and build on every, inch of it. We were in a hurry, and I'm not blaming on the hospital or anyone else. It's my fault, but we contractually moved quicker into the zoning before we had tested everything. We had tested the front side that we found a little bit of rock, but not a lot of it, and we felt pretty good about it. We had to get a permit to cross the stream in order to go test on the other side. We zoned this thing with only doing hand augers, so we had someone go out there and hand auger it, didn't find any rock, but as soon as we went out there with machinery, it's like nothing I've ever seen before, and we tested, and we spent a lot of hours trying to figure out. I mean, we were talking about quarrying the rock, and it's just a major issue, and it can't be fixed. And so we're here trying to make lemonade out of lemons. It's, we've got a tough piece of land. We're going to sell less homes at a lower amount than we otherwise would, but I do think we are bringing something pretty great to the city. I think it can be a great park. I think. Mr. Commissioner's comment about lighting or anything like that. I don't see any cost for y'all. I think you put up a sign that says the park closes at dusk. I think this is a walking trail that people, use during the day. I don't think it's going to have tennis courts or anything like that. I mean, I think it's a passive park, but I think it's going to be great for all the neighborhoods that do surround this area and for future development in the area. So, we apologize for bringing the same project back. It's not something we do, but we screwed up, and we're here trying to make good on our contract with the hospital authority, and we're trying to do something that makes sense for the city as well as we can not lose money on, and try to make it financially feasible. So
If you want to see where it comes from, ride over to the east side of Atlanta. They got this place over there called Stone Mountain. This is part of the strata.
really.
In fact, every time somebody says something about, let's go to Stone Mountain, I say, let's just go out in my backyard,
There you go.
because I've got a huge piece of it sticking up out there. So, yeah, and believe me, it's under everything.
Yeah. It's a major impact on this property.
So on the last page of your packet, is that an elevation of the style of townhome that you're proposing?
Yes, I believe so. So the three-story townhomes is not it. That last picture is just projects we've done before, so that is not it. We'll be doing a two-story townhome here. It will not be a three-story townhome like that.
More like what we saw on the previous.
Yeah, more similar to that. All two-car garage, all for an entry, but it'll be a two-story product, not a three-story townhome.
And you indicated that you would be agreeable to reducing that to a 5%?
Yeah, we don't intend to rent any of them. I mean, you got to have a little bit just because people move and,
Right.
Things like that. But
It's not you guys is my concern. Well,
Sure.
I mean, that is a concern we're having is
Sure.
rental
Purpose-built, yeah.
companies coming in buying legs of subdivisions,
Right.
whole subdivisions, and then,
Sure.
now we don't have single families. They're
Yeah.
rentals. They're single family rentals, but they're
Yeah.
not.
No, understood. Yes, we would be okay
So
with that
that's
change.
that's a concern. I think that we could move that to 5%, might get a little bit more traction. And then also your finish level. Could you tell us a little bit about how your finish level?
Yeah,
is
sure.
gonna be in these
And I
units?
don't know if we have any pictures in there, but, it's all high-quality stuff, granite countertops, hard surface floors, no carpet throughout the units other than maybe maybe one set of steps. I think sometimes they like to put carpet there. It'll all be, the exteriors, no vinyl siding, anything like that, all cement or, brick or stone exteriors and cemented siding and,
And your floor plans, where you got your
they'll all be
master on-
three-bedroom townhome units.
You've got any with the master on the
I
main, or?
I think we've got lots that are set up that would be able to accommodate that. That product, most oftentimes when we do it, is done in an age-restricted,
Sure.
situation. And this is going to be, available for anyone, just like the single-family homes that are zoned on it now, or would be available for anyone.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments for the developer? Okay, Ron? Any further questions or comments for the staff? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
We have to have a public hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, absolutely. I'd meant to have that before. Have a public hearing for anyone who would like to speak for or against this project? Yes, sir. Come forward, give us your name and address.
My name is James Glass. I live at 425 Daniel Road. I have the property at 445 Daniel Road, which is on the east side of this project, I believe. The creek runs through both of my properties. My only concern here about that is I don't see a detention pond anywhere on this plat. As a matter of fact, this is the first time I've seen the plat, so I like that to be addressed. You know, if there is to be a park built back there, how are they going to? I think the study is proposed to build some kind of walkway, a crossway across that creek, and it is very pretty on the upper side of that. But I do not see how the public is going to get to that park if it is developed as proposed. You know, I just don't see that unless they're walking from the entrance of the subdivision through that. One thing I do like about this is the price point on this to keep the customers, clientele, owners to a higher standard of what we would in a normal apartment complex. Those are my comments, and thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. But yes, it's my understanding you have to walk from basically the entrance to get to the passive park. So, yeah, go ahead.
So, can I see the mouse one more time? So I can address this. You actually would not. And so the two questions that came up is you can walk from here back to the back, but you also can park here. And then keep in mind, this road is being extended. We just, this was a new condition that we had talked about with staff. This road is going to be extended across here and stop across so that you would have a core approved crossing road that comes across there. This whole area up here, it's like a sticky pad showing up. It's kind of cool. And so this whole area up here is stormwater management. And so we have little areas all through here that we can do water quality. But then we also have the master detention down here that's almost an acre of land that would protect the downstream neighbor from any flooding issues and also water quality issues on there. So just wanted to address those.
Okay, good, thank you. Any other questions for Ron? I see no more public comments. Close
Don't see
those.
Ron anymore.
Well, I'll entertain a motion from the commissioners. What is your pleasure for R222 rezoning of 116 Reed Road?
I recommend that we approve this application as we have discussed with the conditions therein and forward it to City Council for approval.
Does that include the 5%?
I understand that the last request was to limit it to 5%
Yeah,
rentals.
right. Okay.
On the number 15, on the conditions, staff conditions.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 4-1. Okay. Ron, item C.
All right, just one moment.
Is there anything else?
Yeah, we got another. Wayne Davis office training facility.
Okay, so for our last application tonight, we have another rezoning request. This is RA-03-22, which is an application by CWD Properties LLC. They're looking to rezone from AG, single family agricultural, to C1, which is our commercial low density zoning district at 1101 West Bankhead Highway. This is on the corner of West Bankhead Highway and Waterford Drive. This would be the northwest corner of that site. The applicant is proposing to construct a 12,200 square foot training office facility on the 2-acre parcels, about 2.07 acres, for Wayne Davis Concrete. The site was previously zoned as general commercial under the UDC up until 2020, when the citywide rezoning changed the property's designation to single-family agricultural. The applicant proposes a stormwater facility in the rear of the property and to adhere to all of the required buffers and all other standards in the zoning ordinance. I think it's important to also understand that just 2 years ago, less than 2 years ago, the office facility that they're proposing to build would have been a permitted use, and they would not have had to come and get the property rezoned at all. But because of that citywide effort, we are, of course, there is that requirement if they would like to build a commercial structure to be in a commercial zone. So that's why the application is here. But we are recommending approval with conditions. The conditions are as follows. There's 3 of them total. The change from, well, I'll give you this, the reasonings here. The change from AG to C1 is supported by the comprehensive plan. The C1 zone is listed as an appropriate zoning category listed in the comprehensive plan for the suburban village character area. The second one here is the use is the highest and best use for the land compared to a vacant lot or a single-family home. And third, the rezoning will provide a commercial infill opportunity on a roadway that features mostly commercial enterprises. And I want to correct myself here. It's actually no conditions. It's just approval. So there is no conditions here that we're proposing at this time.
Say again?
There's no conditions. It's just approval that we're recommending.
What about ingress and egress? Are they going to just have this driveway off of Waterford Road into the property?
That's correct.
So nothing coming off 78?
No, sir.
Okay.
Question, just so we're clear about this, I think we are, but I want to make sure. They're building this as just like a corporate headquarters, office training.
Mm-hmm.
We're not dealing with trucks like we are down on the other end of 78 outside Pleasant Grove Road.
You shouldn't be. I'll have the applicant kind of attest to that a little bit and put something on the record for us.
Okay.
But from what I understand, it's just a training facility and office.
Good deal.
Well, when you say training, that could embrace a multitude of sins. I mean, because I am concerned about noise and dust, for instance. You know, I don't know, every concrete plant I've ever been around, you had some things that would kind of blow over to the adjacent properties. Mm-hmm. So do you know what impact, because there's a residential subdivision immediately adjacent behind where this is going to be located. Has there been anybody address the impact of noise or dust or other materials from the site that might get onto adjacent properties?
Yes. And good question. Our zoning ordinance does require for this property to have a 30-foot buffer from residential properties. As you have indicated, there is a existing subdivision here in the rear of the parcel if you're looking from Highway 78. And so our ordinance does require what we call a buffer type 3, which would require a 30-foot width buffer area and a bunch of other landscaping requirements. and I'll just read out the short section here from the ordinance, but the buffer width 30 feet, any combination of materials selected from the landscape materials category listed in table 7.8, unit value of landscaping materials which equals or exceeds a unit value of 5.0 for each 100 linear feet along any exterior roadway, and unit value of 4.0 for each 100 linear feet of adjoining property, no matter if it's developed or undeveloped, provided that at least 10% of the unit value shall be derived from deciduous shade trees. So it's pretty extensive as far as tree cover and what is required in our landscaping ordinance and our buffer ordinance. So we thought 30 feet is pretty significant, and it looks like the applicant has over 30 feet there. But of course, this is a concept plan, and once we get the site development plan, we'll be able to make sure we check that part over.
Now, is it staff's understanding that it says the training center, so I'm assuming they're bringing jobs with them, right?
That's
Their jobs coming, right?
That is our assumption, yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So people would be working there and making a living,
Mm-hmm.
which is a good thing. I'm
Yeah.
okay with it.
I did hear a member of the public did kind of indicate that a little bit a little bit earlier about training and kind of job opportunities, and the fact that we're kind of becoming a bedroom community, as they say. So we're hoping that we can continue to push these commercial and industrial sites and expand for even more. We've completely run out of industrial space, as we know. So we are looking at that right now. But it is good to see some of these infill commercial opportunities, because you really just don't see them a lot. We had Bain Dental and a couple others that have come in on Bankhead Highway to try to help with that. And we just want to keep that momentum going.
A 12,000-foot building, I mean, you're going to put some people in it, I imagine, every day. So that's people buying gas and shopping at CVS and wherever else.
It's about the same size building as, I don't know if you've all heard of the Wayfield Foods application. It came before council, at the last council meeting, but it's about approximately the same size building and facility, and that's also a infill opportunity on Bankhead Highway. So we're just trying to fill up these spots.
Now, there is a fence along the back of that property. Is there a holding pond in there?
There is an existing stormwater pond or facility that is on the site. You can kind of see it from the satellite there. So that's probably why that fence is there, and they look like they're trying to utilize that for this
Is
site.
that part of the property?
It is, yes.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay.
And the applicant is here
Yes, let's,
this evening.
well, are there any questions for Ron at this time? If not, let's have the applicant come forward. Yes, sir. Name and address, please.
My name's Chris Bell. I'm actually a Rupel. I live in 43 Lovern Lane, Rupel, Georgia. And I'm here representing CWD and here to answer any questions. I heard you had one as far as concerns with dust and noise. This is not a concrete plant, so it'll just be actually a training center. And a dispatch, it's kind of like their air traffic control for concrete trucks is the way I've described it. But we've done a preliminary. I know it has to go through architectural review, but this is what the building's going to be. It's going to be landscaped. We've done some early design work with civil engineers, and we've got all the buffers that they've requested, and we're trying to meet all that. And it's actually should be finished out to where it should be a very pretty property. So hopefully that helps your concerns with that.
What about what's the capacity? How many people you have in there at one time working and training?
The two downstairs areas, the control center for dispatch will be on the right side of the building. They're going to have probably anywhere between 6 to 12, depending on growth there. On the left side is going to be the open classroom training center, and we've got that set up for it's going to hold in the 20 to 30, comfortably in that.
Okay.
For that.
That wouldn't be an everyday, would it just be when you had
I
a
don't think so.
session?
Yeah. I think as they have new employees come on, then they'll do group training like that. The upstairs we've got it actually designated as all office space, to where they'll be able to grow into that. We are not going to finish out all the office space to start with. but, we're gonna grow it as they go. But there's a lot of room. There's 6,000 square foot upstairs to do offices.
Yeah.
We'll have an elevator for both floors and, bathrooms up and down, so it's.
And it looked like you had plenty of parking for,
Yeah, and I think we've covered most of that, so hopefully we've covered all of that.
Now, the building that you showed would face the highway,
This
but the
is
entrance is on the
facing-
side.
Yes, sir, this is facing, 78,
Yeah,
yes, sir,
okay.
yeah.
I got no issue with it.
Any other questions for the applicant?
I personally like it. Commerce come to town bringing jobs, people, that's a good thing. I think that addresses one of the things the citizens have brought up about bedroom community and lack of a place of employment. And I know Wayne Davis Concrete, they've been in Harrelson County forever. They're very involved in the community and they're very involved in things outside of just concrete. But, I mean, you're gonna build stuff, you need concrete to build it with, and we might as well have a place that makes money off of it right here in town. They pay taxes, so
Very good.
I'm okay with this.
Thank you very
All
much.
right, thank you.
Ron? Any additional questions for the staff? I'd like to have a public hearing for this. Anybody who would come forward to speak for or against? Yes, ma'am.
So Megan Hill, 54 Waterford Drive. I'm actually the second house behind where you are right now. I want to thank you for not bringing a Dollar General gas station, not bringing in another food place that we can buy fast food at. Thank you for having a real business that you would like to put there. Over the last 20 years of living in this house and living in that community right here, we have had other businesses attempt to go there. They've had the same rock problem that the last people stated that they had. I wonder how that's going to affect that. There is also a massive bamboo problem in your back right corner. Please note that as well. That is a continuing problem throughout the neighborhood for the first couple houses that are in there. My big problem with right here, where it says Waterford Drive, where it actually says the local road at, the road is very cracked there. There's been water leaking across that road for the last couple years. I've reached out repeatedly to the city. They typically ignore me. They push me off. I've gone through this for the last couple years. This year I decided that I wasn't going to give up. The water does look better right now, but that doesn't take away from the years of cracked road that this water has caused. If we bring another business into here, we're going to have those 6 to 12 people daily coming in, those 20 to 30 people driving over here constantly, thus breaking up the top of that road even more. Could we address the road problem itself for the business that's actually coming through there? Would be my first question for that one. My second, with the commercial traffic, this is a dead-end subdivision. There is no other way out of this subdivision, and it does not tie to the roads and the houses behind Dollar General. They have a wall up there and you're not allowed to drive through. So with only having the one way in and the one way out, we also get a lot of speeding in there. I'm afraid that more businesses coming into the top of there will cause more people to drive through there, thus ignoring the dead end sign, still speeding through there. I've reached out to the city over the last 20 years about putting speed bumps in there because it is a city road. We do not have HOAs. There is no community to pay for this. The city has stated that if they put these speed bumps in there, then they would not fix the roads. They don't fix the roads anyways. So I would like to ask for the speed bumps, please. I now have reached out to Leslie McPherson over the last 6 months. She has now stated that I have to have 75% of homeowners, not renters, and we have more renters there than we do have owners, that I have to find the homeowners, and now I have to find 75% of them to agree to these speed bumps. But if we're doing all these changes right now, my husband's proposal is where Melleray cuts into Waterford, which is only 2 houses down, could we add a 4-way stop as opposed to a 2-way? Having that 4-way would ensure that people would need to slow down at that point and quite possibly could get rid of the need that we have for a speed bump. Also, if we go with this, can we have one of those road studies for the top of Waterford where it turns out onto 78? Because the traffic that there is already a problem. They crest over the hill. They do not go 35. They're coming off the other side where it's changing from 45 to 35, and they're also not hitting that 35 until Martin's comes in. So if we're going to be adding the extra businesses, which only way in and out will be our road, being Waterford, could we add in one of these studies that everybody else is getting to try to maybe help the speed, or help the traffic that is right there? Last thing, if we're going to commercially come down to this point and we are still in city limits, could we extend the sidewalks past the high school down to the commercial buildings that are down here? We do have them with Martin's all across the street. We have that commercial going down there. If we're gonna continue to add to these, could we have the sidewalks go down? And I thank you.
Thank you very much.
And I hate to, I don't mean to try to bust your bubble, but where I live, we have a number of four-way stops. I think it just encourages them to blow through as quick, as fast as they can go.
I would rather try my hardest as opposed to having a dead child and or a dead animal. Again, would much rather have it be the dead animal than the dead child. But we have also had a child hit in our subdivision before. It has been about 15 years. We have had a child struck by a car, and it's because they do not enforce the speed limit through there, no matter how many times I've called.
And people don't respect it very well.
They do not, but if they had speed bumps that they were forced to stop at, if not, they would tear their cars up. Maybe, just maybe they'd slow down a little bit. Again, just trying to stop dead kids.
That doesn't stop them either, I can tell you.
Yeah, your concept of speed humps is,
Let's find a
unrealistic.
solution that does stop them, because that also would be awesome. Considering it is a dead-end residential area, there shouldn't be a reason for it. So instead of bursting bubbles, could we find solutions?
I think some of the kids have a contest to see how far they can fly once they hit that speed bump. How far will they run, will they go airborne before, so. I don't mean, I appreciate your problem. Believe me, a lot of us suffer from that, but I don't know, until you change some human nature or get the police to be able to patrol it all the time or something, I don't know.
I mean, it is city limits where the police should be enforcing and patrolling, and again, not a subdivision. So again, I spent 20 years trying to be solution oriented on this, and all I ever hear is, your solution doesn't work and we don't have one.
well, keep at it, so. That's the only thing you can do. Is your name one of those listed in this, within 500 feet of this property?
Probably it's Jeremy and Megan Hill. It would be under Cody Megan Wallace is my maiden name.
Over.
So probably I'm the second house after this.
Okay.
one.
This is the first time we've seen this included. That's very good. So, appreciate that, Ron. Thank you very much, Ben.
Thank you.
Okay, Ron? I assume there are no further public comments, so back to council. Any questions for staff?
No. Not here.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion then.
I'll make a motion that we approve the rezoning as proposed by the applicant here tonight.
Second.
Approved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Okay, staff comments. Ron?
Thank you, commissioners. I guess the first things first here, we're still are super busy. It's not slowing down. We have some, another new rezoning that has been filed. I have another rezoning and special exception application that has also been filed for the same property. But the applicant is still kind of working away at a couple different things, so I don't think they're going to be ready for our next meeting. But we are looking at some code changes still. That's going to be going on probably for the foreseeable future, I can tell you that. But because there's quite a number of things in our ordinance that we would like to fix, not just the zoning ordinance, but the sign ordinance also. So over the next several meetings, you're probably going to see a number of different, changes in the ordinance that'll make a much more resilient and a much better ordinance. I think that, and I have to hats off to Chris in our department, or previously in our department. Now he's with Tom, but he did a really great job on this ordinance and got us from a point where we had the UDC, which was totally not prepared or functional for the growth that was coming. And I think that he did do a great job on this ordinance. It's just over time, as we keep trying and testing the ordinance, it's incumbent upon us to make changes that would be in the best interest of the community. And to get a better high quality developments out there. So we know that there's 13 chapters of the zoning ordinance. I'm going to try to chip away a chapter at a time because of just how busy everything is right now. And just kind of juggling some responsibilities until we can kind of get some additional help into the office. So, so in the next coming months, you probably see a bunch of ordinance changes and stuff as we keep moving forward. But I'll try to keep them as organized as possible as we move forward, and just try to do maybe a chapter at a time so we can kind of get it finished within a year.
Can I ask a question? May I comment on it?
Sure.
Does the city or staff have a counter punch to the punch thrown by the county commission to us with the PUD development? Do we have an alternative plan? I would hope so.
Not that I'm aware. Well, I'll say I'm not sure. I don't know.
There was a
Unfortunately, I think there's only one person that knows.
Well, Chance sent the proposal back. Apparently he authored it or championed it or captained it, whatever we call it. So Clint sent it back to the city. I'm assuming the city would come back with something saying, no, maybe how about we do this?
Yeah.
I was there at the county commission.
I think there's some meeting still going
Okay.
on or something. Yeah.
Okay.
Ron, on the packets that you include for us, you always have a sheet that talks about the city and the contacts.
Yes.
You really ought to look at updating that, because it's not current.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that actually, because I noticed that actually, what was it, like a week or two ago, and it is on my to-do list. That to-do list is actually shockingly getting a little bit, don't say it too loud, but it's getting a little bit shorter, so I'm starting to catch up a little bit. But that is, I actually have a day designated sometime next week to update all of our applications, because there has been some substantial changes. We want, I believe last year, there was a request from council to have campaign disclosure forms in all of our applications, not just like some of them. I think we have it in only some of our zoning applications. So we're trying to address a number of different things all at once, kind of with the application. So we're
Like who
looking forward
the
to it.
applicant gives money to?
Oh yeah, yeah. We asked that for a number of our applications already. So why not do it for all of them?
I guess I could see it if it's an actual person on the council or the mayor. I mean, I'd say a conflict, but if he wants to give to Planned Parenthood or the NRA, how does that make a difference on his
Oh no,
application?
it's just for city officials or
Okay.
elected officials.
I
here.
thought I was like, whoa. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, that's cool. Gotcha.
There's nothing further on our comment about variances with the council?
Yeah, well, no is the answer to that question, but I did have at least some discussions, or at least I ran it by Tracy, which I believe he was here that night also, I want to
Yes.
say. But I think it's something that's kind of continually kind of in discussion right now, but we're kind of juggling a couple different things, but it has not left our radar. That is something that I think, I stand by my comments before, I think it could help, so.
Appreciate that.
That's something I would like to push, so.
Good, thank you. Any other comments or questions for staff? Okay,
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
been moved and seconded to adjourn, all in favor?
FBI.
Okay,
Thank you.
long meeting tonight.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, on the June meeting, I'm going to be out of town on Tuesday.
Okay.
What day is that?
Man, I was talking to
I was about to tell you.
I remember in the beginning, you guys.
Yes, sir. Well, you've updated